And we're back at Contychat. Yo, what's good? Welcome down to the show. I'm Brendan Lepal and I'll be your host for today. So remember, every single time when we go on air on Contychat, we talk about all our previous episodes, right? Because not only that you can get the wonderful gist for today's show, but obviously we don't want you to be left out as well. So where do you go to? RTM Click is where you check out our previous episodes. Or if you don't want to check us out in the sense of images and visual, you can tune into us as well. Podcast.rtm.gov.my is where you'll get, once again, all our previous episodes. We've got lots of them and we love to share it with you, okay? And coming back to today's show, it's going to be interesting because we are going to be talking about this topic that unfortunately we have to talk about it each and every single time when we go on air. Why is it so? Because this issue never gets old. With the emergence of new technology in hopes to combat it, unfortunately, some may find themselves being victims because they are getting smarter. What are we talking about? I'll tell you in a bit. I'm talking about scams. Yes, scammers out there. My gosh. From phone scams, from WhatsApp trickery scams, fraud calls, love scams, all the scams that you can find, not just in the country Malaysia, but all parts of the world. Now, naming a few scam activities out there, right? Now, to learn and understand types of scammers out there, types of scams out there also as well, and how to outsmart them. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you how to do it because I have no knowledge about it. Just a little bit lah, okay? Cut me some slack, by the way. So we brought in a few guests to talk to us about how to uncover the dark world of scammers. So please welcome Zulkarnain Mohammad Yassin, Chief Regulatory Officer from MCMC. Welcome to the show.
Thank you,
Mr.
Brendan.
Zul.
Thank you.
And also we've got...
having me.
Welcome. Yeah, you're most welcome. We're so excited to have you. And also we've got Ratna Shaira, CEO of IBEAM, Association of Islamic Banking and Financial Institution of Malaysia. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brendan.
Scammers. Something that never gets old, and we are so tired of listening to scammers. You know, and you thought we are not done with COVID-19 and we are bored of it, right? But scammers, my goodness, I just want to vomit each and every time I hear about scammers. But of course, in your opinion, Mr. Zul, why is it still happening this day?
Why is it happening these days? Because there is always a belief by the scammers that people are gullible.
Gullible.
People are actually gullible, and they can be easily tricked into parting with their monies if the offer is, or if what has been offered or put on the table for them to chew, to take it on, is so lucrative.
Yeah.
And it is what they are offering, what the people want. So what people are craving for, fast money, beautiful lovers, or beautiful houses.
Oh my goodness,
So
houses
good
as well.
investment. So it's all about money and pleasure. So they are offering this, or even not only money and pleasure, they go to the other extent of people in dire needs of help also become victim.
Yeah. And
So that's sickening.
that's why, and yeah, it's very sickening. And coming back to different types of scams, obviously it involves money, right? Okay, and of course, scammers out there, they try to build this connection with you to get to you and to, get all your stuff. And how do we, I don't know, it's so mind-blowing in that sense because in this age of new technology, they're just getting smarter and smarter.
So basically, you're right. The scammers, they are even more advanced than we are. So I'm representing the banks, the financial institutions from IBEAM. So basically, what happened is, at the end of the day, what they want is they want to swallow all your money.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So your money, where you put in the banks. So the banks is also a party that is involved.
Right.
Whether we like it or not, because we save our money. But because we are, like Cik Zul clearly said, that we are, I have to say that we have this greed thing in us, that we want more than what we have.
Okay.
So we are easily attracted to this office. The type of scams like phishing, love scams, Macau scams. And recently, Brandon, if you have heard it. It's this is evil. Okay, the kidnap scam.
Right.
Where they call you and they say that your loved ones, your son, your children, your mom is with them, and they would not allow you to even contact, to put down the phone or say, let me check. They will not allow that because they don't want any minute, that you will leave their conversation. All they want is for you to like transfer the money because you are so worried. This is the feeling that they're playing with us. They play with our sadness, our worry, our anger, and our greed. So,
Right. Right, and that's from iBeam. Mr. Zul, representing MCMC, of course, you've come across different types of scam activities in Malaysia. And we know as well, just a few days ago, there was this fraud case that happened and somebody lost like hundreds of thousands of ringgit and something like that, right?
Yeah.
But of course, MCMC subpoenaed and its vision and all that, and whatever that's happening in Malaysia right now when it comes to victims. The most common one is?
The most common one is currently job scam.
Job scams.
Job scams, as well as investment scams.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So those are two big what we call big ticket items that cause losses to people.
It's like they have their target market, right? Rana is like, okay, you see, when you lose like so much money, it's always investment scams and it's always love scams, unfortunately. But when it comes to younger generations and the younger people out there, it's job scams, right? And of course, it comes back to what you just mentioned. You just want more and more each and every single time, right? Unfortunately, that is the issue that we're talking about right now. So we have investment scams, we have love scams, fraud scams, all this kind of stuff. Whenever, actually, how do we define scams, if I may ask, Mr. Zul?
It's okay. How do we define it? It is quite a challenge, but in a nutshell, it's a kind of fraud.
Okay.
What we can easily say define it as a fraud, because it's actually a scheming or devising process or content that would enable you or to enable the scammers to get the victim to part something. Parting something could be most of the time it is all about money.
Right.
Be it in investment or other means of transferring the money, but also the other information pertaining to not only the victim but also others, relatives, that they can also get information from the victim. So it's not just talking about getting the money from the victim, but also getting information about potential victim.
More often than not, that's how they do it. This is what they call phishing.
Phishing is a link that is provided via a message, and you click on that.
And game over.
Yeah, game over. But I would like to add to what Mr. Zul said about recognizing scammers. You see, I think this falls back to communication. So if I can just mention there. For me, there are two things that we need to look at. One is the online communication.
Okay.
Another one is the calls. The online communication includes the social media links, emails, SMS, the calls that you receive. To identify a scammer, first you must understand yourself. See, if they call you and say, "Hey, you have an outstanding loan of 3 months, with this bank, and if you don't pay, we will freeze your account." For people who doesn't have enough information or knowledge on scams, they'll get worried, right? Although they know at the back of their mind that, hey, I don't have any loan with this bank. So what we always tell the public is, please, if you receive that and you know that you don't have a loan with that bank, or even if you have, just say, okay, thank you, put down the phone, I'll contact the bank myself. Because bank will never call and threaten you, and ask you for details.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have your details. Sometimes they only ask you to verify.
That's correct.
Okay? That's one in terms of call. Or they call you and say, "Hey, you have a parcel," and they'll talk about they'll mention your IC.
Right.
Try to try to tell them a different IC number, they will say, it's the same IC number that we have in our system.
Gotcha.
Exactly, because I've been getting that kind of calls too. So you must understand yourself first, so that you can have a defense.
Right.
That defense is from us. You don't get panic whenever you receive this call, but we need to tell people every now and then, every time, because you don't know who doesn't know. So you just have to put this message out to reach them.
Right, because they're getting smarter. Sometimes when they call you thinking that you think that they know about you, indirectly they are actually getting more information with you actually explaining to them, no, I didn't do this because this is my account number, this is where I live, and all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, they can actually dictate through the tone of your answers, I think, because if you're worried, your tone will be so worried that they'll just give you more threatens or make you more worried.
Correct.
The second one is the email and the communication online. Nothing is, if it's too good to be true, then it's too good to be true.
Yeah.
So don't get scammed with all these offers like the cheap cleaning services, the cheap pet grooming. Nowadays people love pets, right? And they treat pets like their bosses. So there are no free or there's no cheap grooming for pets. You rather take your pets to the
groomers instead.
Rather than paying them and ask them to come and pick your pets.
Just to add on, it's not just sometimes those are communications that coming to us, but also it also can come from we initiating, like we want to look for maid or we want to look for contractors to renovate our house. So and other things that we do our research, market research, but not everything that has been advertised. Of course, some popular recommended these portals recommended these are list of contractors. Of course, we want to do our research, but whether that contractor is valid or that information, that parties are valid parties providing the services, it's also need to be more vigilant in this age. So because our approach, Malaysian, one thing is it is our attitude that we are bangsa yang that is trusting.
And then we are easily duped then. And of course, we're going for a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the role of IBEAM and also MCMC. What are their roles? What are their objectives to combat scammers? After a quick break, and when we come back, more about scammers. Right here on Contychat.
Kecemasan, boleh saya bantu?
Hello, there's been a motorcycle accident here. Maybe an elephant ran it over?
Sir, there is fire accident at the address number 5 Jalan Tembika, Shah Alam.
PGO from FRT Shah Alam, there was no fire accident here, over.
MERS 999. Use it wisely.
Yo, thank you so much for staying with us, uncovering the dark world of scammers. And we brought in the studio today Mr. Zulkarnain Muhammad Yassin, Chief Regulatory Officer from MCMC, and also Ratna Shaira, CEO of IBEAM, Association of Islamic Banking and Financial Institutions in Malaysia. So we talk about the types of scammers and all that. Now we just want to move forward. This is for you, Ratna. Could you explain what are the measures taken by financial institutions to address the scam issues?
Yeah, I think because I mentioned just now the involvement of bank in this scamming. We are not scammers, but it's just too bad that your money, not too bad, basically your money is with the deposits are with the banks.
Right.
The banks has the responsibility to safeguard the money. So last year, the third quarter of last year, Bank Negara announces that the banks, the financial institutions will take measures to combat fraud in terms of advancing or enhancing their security. So one of it is SMS OTP migration.
Right.
That's where previously you will receive the 6-digit number of OTP for your transaction, but now you have the second layer. You have a different app, to secure that transaction. So all banks are already into that. That's one of the measure that's taken. The second one is the fraud detection rule and trigger. That is, the customer will be alerted every time there's a transaction, being made, so that they are aware of the transaction. And if it's not, then they need to call the bank. The third one is device binding. That is, you can only use one phone to register for that particular apps that you have.
Okay.
You can't register like 2, 3, 4 numbers.
Yeah.
It's only one.
Right.
And that is, I think, is a very important thing, so that you know your number, and that's the only phone and that's the only number that you're going to use for your banking transaction. The fourth one is cooling off period. That's where the banks, because different banks have different fraud patterns, right? So the banks will be able to give a cooling off period to the customers, especially the first time. If you open an internet banking for the first time, you can't do internet banking transaction for a certain number of hours. This is to give, to look into that account, whether it's legit or is it a mule account, because sometimes you open up account, other people use your account and they start using it as mule, where they transfer and they transfer and they transfer, right?
That's right.
They do layerings. The fifth one is what you call the scam hotline. Banks have scam hotline, and I think the national response center, scam response center, also have 997. So if you think that you are being scammed, you can always call 997 directly. And give information so that they can get to that, take action.
Advise you accordingly, and it's 24 hours?
Yes.
Exactly, brilliant. And of course, this is to Mr. Zul. Could you explain what are the roles of government agencies in combating money scammers?
What we are looking at, whatever intervention for MCMC, for example, one of the key issues is communications. It's either SMS or calls. So we have actually implemented technically at the telecommunications network rules that prohibited calls from coming in.
Right.
So about 2 billion calls that we have actually stopped from reaching the people. And also recently we have come up with rules to not for SMSs not to be linked with link for phishing, to avoid phishing. So technically we have done important or the kind of regulatory intervention like the banks have done regarding the banking system. And at the network level of telecommunications also we have done that. But then again, it is the recipient. It's the recipient. Again, what is important, we collectively at National Scam Response Center not only dealings with complaints or handling calls of victims, but also we are devising concerted education activities. Puan Ratna highlighted a good point. Defense. How defensive? How are we ready with our defense? Because once it is too attractive, that's it. You let your guard down and you become the victim.
So we are the antivirus actually. Not all your applications that you have in your phones or your smart devices. Now, I want to ask you, Mr. Zul, right? Are there specific laws or regulations in place to prevent and prosecute money scammers in Malaysia? And of course, a body that produces the law regulations via the cybersecurity in Malaysia as well?
I think there is a whole lot of laws that deals with scams. So if in investment, you have to look at the securities commissions that look into Securities Industry Act. Okay, let me just check that again. But we have primarily is the penal code.
Okay.
We have the Ministry of Domestic Trade that look into the consumers aspect of it. And we have the Communications and Multimedia Act that deals with content, and also there are some fraud cases also.
Right.
So if there are sufficient law actually to address the scammers, but the challenges are those scammers, if you look at the type of arrest that the police made to scammers, are those operating where the victims are outside the country. So this the operation center of the scam syndicate is actually, if they want to scam Malaysians, their operation normally is outside.
Elsewhere,
It's not here. So what you get here is actually operation scammers operating to scam people outside, but they also have some victims, Malaysian victims. But the other aspect why calling the National Scam Response Center is important is this is where if you become a victim or you receive a scam call. Why? Because these are information that we need so that we can actually trace the call and also find where is the location of the call. So that sometimes these are machines, there's no operators, but it is a means of communications. So we need to disable that. So this is where when we in the National Scam Response Center, we compile the information or we get the information and real time try to track where does this call initiated from. So we can go to the site and see, okay, actually it is a same box. We raided a place at a condominium. It's just nobody there. It's just equipment.
What? Okay, thank you so much for sharing with us that. Because we always thought that somebody would be on the line with you. Tak ada kerja punya orang scamming you, right? But of course, Radha, you heard about all these measures being taken from IBIN as well and MCMC as well. In your own opinion, do you think that it's sufficient enough, or yeah, your thoughts, please?
Yeah, I would like to add, on top of the security enhancement that the bank is doing now, and most of them has completed this 5 measures. The important thing that we have also at the industry level is the communication and engagement to share public awareness on scam. All the financial institutions, all our members, the conventional, the Islamic, we get together, we have this working group. And since I think April, we've done a lot of posters communication through social media because we felt that there's a lot to do. So one is not enough, one per month is not enough, so now we go on weekly basis. If you look into the social medias of Bank Negara, the banks, and IBIM, it's our own social media platform. We have these posters coming up, to tell you how the scammers work, what you should do, what you should not do. So on your question on whether is it sufficient, I think it is our responsibility together to basically combat this fraud. It can't be just from the bank, it can't be just from MCMC, it can't be just from the news stations. It has to be everybody, and the most important is we ourselves. We have to get that knowledge.
Correct.
And even at IBIM, we've done reach out to the school children, to the people at the stalls. We have materials that we provide to them. That's to the extent that we want them to understand that there are scammers everywhere, and you have to guard yourself. For example, you are working. You sell goreng pisang, you sell mee goreng, but then you got scammed. It's your hard-earned money. Isn't that sad? Yeah, that is sad. So I don't think it's enough until all of us get together, collaborate together. We shouldn't do things in silo. That's my personal opinion. I've always believed in collaboration, Brandon. So for you calling us in, and we get this chance to talk about the scammers and how you must take action. You must understand. It's very important. There will never be enough, because the scammers, they will not stop. They have been here since I don't know how many years back, and they're still here, and they have new modus operandi.
The irony of that is that they have been very innovative, because sometimes, let's say for example, at one time we have this initiative by the government to give bantuan, whatever, Sara Hidup or whatnot. They have creatively put up a website forms and whatnot ready.
Yeah.
Whereas it's just announcement.
Right.
They go first to the market to reach the customer. So that's how ready they are to pounce on or to leverage and any opportunity to scam people.
Right.
So that's always be on alert for us. Okay, this announcement, but always check from the source.
Right. I think that's
It's
the most.
from the source. If it is the ministry, check from the ministry. You have the website. Website also can be deceiving. Of course, they on the pretext of making it easy. Okay, these are list of form. They compile it for you.
Yeah, correct.
But
correct.
actually, that's a bait for you to go in and
Correct. So what we've learned on today's episode is simple. If you don't know, don't click. Number 2, search the core of that particular link or whatever that it's been given to you. Search it right down to the core. If it's from the government, check out the government's website. And number 3, just be careful in whatever you do. If you don't have it, which means you don't have it. Scammers will always say that you have it, and then actually somehow or other you will have it. That's how they take your money. So thank you so much, Mr. Zul, for being here with us, and thank you so much, Ratna Shahira, for being here with us also as well. If you want to know more about scammers, if you think that this episode is not enough, let us know in the comment section. Tell us that you want more, and we'll give you more. And before we wrap up today's show, I just want to tell you something. OpenAI ChatGPT. Did you know now there's actually WormGPT and also some sort of GPT that can actually potentially hack into your information and details that you put online? Till then, this is Brendan Lepal on Contychat. Take care. Bye-bye.